in my pants. It's so hot. I saw two trees fighting over a dog. Oh, it's hot. Damn hot. Hey! How you all going? It's hot. Damn hot. Hello. How are you? It's damn hot. My name is Quinlan. Welcome to Melbourne Musos Facechook live on a 39, 40 degree day in good old Melbourne. The new normal, I think. There you go. Oh, I have a lot of questions from a lot of beautiful people here. And one of the first things that starts to happen here is Markus Saastamoinen. He's a dirty double dipper, very debonair gent. He's asked me about warm-ups. Markus, I'm coming to see you tonight. Cirrus Crown Workers Club. Get down there. I know it's hot, damn hot, but it's going to be a hot little sesh. And Cirrus Crown is putting out their new single, brilliant, and a few other bands, and a few mates will be down there. So if you want to come down and have a bit, I'll be there from about 9, I think. I'm going to breathe the heat. So Markus, you've asked me about getting straight into it. It's a great place to start. Warm-ups. Okay, what do I do to warm up for a gig? I do not drink and drum. I say that as a joke and seriously. I do not partake. I do it all after. So what happens with warm-ups and the like, what I tend to do is just actually play sort of just loosely. But one of the big things is unison work. So whatever I do with my hands, I tend to do with my feet. So single stroke roll maybe, just loose, you know, that kind of thing. And when I'm playing my feet, and I've got my camera down there, which you can't see here, but you'll see probably on Sunday, I think, once I get a couple of weekend shenanigans over with, and I can get to the editing machine and put together the show with a 5-camera shoot and HD, stereo, maybe coming up on Melbourne Musos on Channel 31 soon enough, in a few weeks perhaps or whatever. But what goes on is that when I'm doing unisons and when I'm doing my feet, I really just don't even worry. I just limber up. That's what I do. Slowly. There it is there. So the camera is not on my feet at the moment, but as I said, I've got odd sock cam down there, boot cam. And then what I do is I just get my body into sync. Now what goes on here is I can bring in 2 other beautiful people. Scott Hayward, how are you, mate? I was just talking to you just before. Scott and I are in a little duo called the One Take Charlies, and we have a mutual love of Leo Kottke, and that's some of our clips up there, but we also love Rush, which is a more recent thing, and we've got something coming up for you all tomorrow, Saturday afternoon, a little premiere for you, but but basically Scott's asked me about tom placement and getting around the drums. But I've done that before as far as getting around the drums and all that sort of stuff, but he's more, how do you set your kit up, you know, sort of thing, in the most ergonomic way. So I'm going to bring that in, Markus, as well. And Andrew, you've asked me, Androo Marschall, hello, mate, there you go, hope you're watching. What rudiments are there other than paradiddles and all that? So I'm going to bring in a couple of different things here. I'm going to talk to the 3 of you at the same time, so to speak, and you glean what you will from it. Okay, so when I'm warming up, Markus, the first thing I actually do when I'm at the gig, when we've done gigs together and all that sort of stuff, you usually see me up the back just jumping up and down. If it was back in the punk era, it'd be called a pogo. And what I'm really doing is just stretching my calf tendons, is what it is. I smile because people are saying, who the bloody hell's that old geezer over there? You know, bloody hell, you know. I just got to watch out because the senior card might fall out of my shirt pocket or something like that when I'm doing it, you see. But what goes on, it's hot. It's so hot. I saw a funeral procession pull over to let an ice cream truck in. God help me. Anyway. Unisons, Marcus, that's what I tend to do. Now, Scott, what happens is with tom placement, what I try to do with my toms is that when I've got my snare drum and I play normally, there is that angle. You see, there, let's say that's the snare drum there, and then what I do is my stick is coming down at that angle, so to speak. There's a bit of give or take with finger control. But when I'm... I want to give a big thank you to Spike Kiernan. How are you, mate? Thank you for coming to the party last Sunday, and that beautiful present you gave me. Thank you. It's right here, and it's something I'm doing right now. So when I'm playing things like that, there's my snare drum. But when I go to the tom, what I try to do is have, as the toms get a little higher, mainly to just clear Doris's bass drum, what happens is that when I come up, I tilt the toms just enough to get the same angle, which is usually little finger, you see, like that. You see, so when I'm playing like so, I've got that. Therefore, it's not that hard for me to rip out a rim shot. See, I'm just flicking. So there you go. Now, Androo Marschall, paradiddles. Move them around, kid. Now, cowbell. Paradiddle bass, you see? So. There you go. So what goes on then is when I'm doing the more classical side, all this sort of business. Now I can bring you in Magda Williams. You've asked me about my favourite female drummer. I've written down a couple, but probably my favourite drummer who I love dearly, so much so I use her sticks, is Dame Evelyn Glennie. You can see the wear and tear on these sticks. I love them. Oh, pardon me. And what goes on there is that she, you might already know that she is a wonderful classical percussionist. She is also profoundly deaf, and her title, Dame Evelyn Glennie, is so well deserved for what she's been able to do for drums everywhere, and drummers everywhere, and percussionists everywhere, and beautiful stuff. So I thought I'd just bring that in because I'm multitasking like crazy here. It's probably because it's so damn hot. It's so hot. I heard that the heat melted my ex-girlfriend's heart. Anyway, there you go. So what happens when I'm doing my more classical side? The same thing applies, you see. Now, Marcus, back to you. That's how I'm warming up, you see. I'm warming up everything there. So there's something going on like that, you see. So when I'm doing this... Now, you notice that I'm sort of looking this way. So what I'm trying to do is use my peripheral vision to actually work out those kinds of, it's counterpoint. And that's part of classical studies and all of that sort of stuff, which I can thank Evelyn Glennie for, because one of the things that happens when you get into that kind of music and it just expands your horizon, there's much more than just... Even though I love that, I love doing it, right? That sort of stuff there. But then you work the in-betweens, like I've mentioned before. I mentioned it last, Facechook, you see. So there's that. So when I'm warming up, that's what I'm doing. Now, if I was to do that same kind of thing, one of the things that can happen is if I, say, go to my left foot, and use Marcus again, unisons. Now my left foot is actually straddling both pedals down there. So I've got the hi-hat and the left side double kick pedal going as well. Put in the right hand. Then, if I bring in my right bass drum, anyway, there you go. So that's what goes on there. I'm warming up, Marcus. You see, that's what I'm tending to do. There's no real set. I used to have a set, rigid routine. Some of the famous practice routines comes from, Virgil Donati was famous for his practice routines. He'd go into, was it Frontline Sound back in the 80s? Someone can tell me what it was. And he'd go in there like a factory worker. He'd take his little play lunch and everything, all that sort of stuff. So in the morning was the hands, up to lunchtime was getting around the kit. Then he'd do his gig stuff, get his songs prepared, go off and teach for a little bit, sort of thing, and then off to the gig. So, by the time you're doing sort of 18 hours a day drumming, you want a nice, comfy drum stool, I know that. Anyway, but when you're doing things like that, there's some famous practice routines, but as far as a warming up thing, once you get to the gig, by rights you should be pretty much prepared, okay? One of the little tricks that I used to do in the 90s in a very cold Melbourne winter, but not today because it's hot! I'll stop doing that for a while. But what goes on, I'm putting myself off, sorry. But what happens is I used to go in and it was freezing. It was freezing. This is when I was with the Zappa Instrumental, and we used to have the residency at the club. We did that for like 4 years. Zappa, all that. You just played all the time. So what I'd do was in the midst of a Melbourne winter, I'd literally do sound check in my dad's old overcoat. Just put the rug on, sort of thing. It's the one that I used to go to the footy with, that kind of, stick it on and just play with that, get a little muck sweat going, and then I was okay, you see. So that answers your question, I hope, Marcus. With warm-ups, I'm going to continually come back to you because I've got a few more beautiful people to get through here, and what happens is that it's all connected, you see. So I'm literally warming up as well. I've had a play before. I just sat down and played, and I was just answering questions, doing a bit of research, and all this sort of business. Now, over to you, Andrew, for a bit. You said paradiddles. What more? Well, you already mentioned the single paradiddle. I'll put them up here. Here's your single paradiddle. Oh, pardon me. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. Double paradiddle you mentioned. Paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. Triple, paradiddle, paradiddle. So it's right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right. And each one has its own kind of groove, you know, sort of thing. Cowbell. That's a double. Still a double. Right, left, right. Oh, what is it? Right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, left. There you go. So that's what was going on there. Same thing here. You can get a lot of beautiful things with paradiddles. But let me take you through what it is. Now, a lot of you guys and gals out there are waiting for me to say the 40 pass rudiments, which I am. So you've got the Percussive Arts Society, you've got 40 rudiments, and they're all sectionalised. And let me take you, I'm not going to play all 40, I'll leave that for another time. I did once on the show a couple of years ago, but that's not today. That's not the brief for today. What goes on is what you have, if I'm going to do it by grades, my drum set manuals, all that sort of stuff, which I wrote in the 90s and all that sort of stuff. That's why I've got the little letters after my name, that kind of thing. But it was 10 years worth of work there, initially for Ansca, but now I'm out on my own and all that sort of stuff. So, but what goes on is you've got all your straight beats, okay? So you just got straight single stroke roll, double stroke roll. You want to try and get it into a double tap. Double stroke roll has two gears, so to speak, separate taps. At some point there's the change of gear. That's still, you can tell because if I play on my lap, it has to be all wrist. So you try and get it up as far as you can. And then there's a changeover when you use the bounce, and there you go. And then what happens is you put them together, right, left, single stroke, right, right, double stroke, put them together, bang, paradiddle. Then you have all your paradiddles. Don't forget your inversions. You turn them inside out. So if you've got a single paradiddle, you can turn it the other way around. So you can have a reverse paradiddle. So instead of saying paradiddle, paradiddle, say diddle para, diddle para. So diddle para, diddle para, diddle para, diddle para. You'll be interested to hear some of the rhythms that come up because they're really close, you know, that kind of... That's an inwards. There it is, very close to a calypso. And they go on. Then you have all your triplets and some of the triplet rudiments. Two of the most important, and this is, thank you again, Spike, for your beautiful present again. But right, left, left. Thank you. All right. How come I haven't put the snares on? See? Right, left, left. And then right, right, left. Put them both together. And there it is. There you go. So that's two there. When you get into grade 2, you add the flams, which you know best as... Buddy, it's so hot. Sorry, pardon me. And what happens is then in grade 3, you add the drags. Grade 4, that's when you add them all in, because you can add a flam to a paradiddle. You get a flamadiddle. You can add a drag to a paradiddle. You can add a dragadiddle, and then you just combine them together. And by the time you get to grade 4, you just add on the extra 4 or 5, and you've got the 40 pass rudiments there, you see. And always remember with rudiments, if you can say it, you can play it. So if you can roll your R, Ratamaku. Now, Magda, I said Dame Evelyn Glennie being my favourite drummer. Actually, funnily enough, my favourite female drummer, my first favourite female drummer was a lovely lady. I had no idea about her, but I was a big rat for Billy Cobham in the 70s. Who wasn't? I mean, you had basically two camps. Are you a Billy Cobham guy or a Steve Gadd guy? You know, that kind of thing. And I always loved Billy Cobham. Incredible. I love both, don't get me wrong. But Billy Cobham was the man. And every album, in the credits, it had Pete and Sheila Escovedo. And that's when they were doing all their, you know, the wonderful stuff that they were doing and with Billy Cobham. So... cowbell. And what happens is, don't fear the reaper, don't fear the cowbell, Blue Oyster Cult. Anyway, that was a very soft boom-tish, Shannon, sorry about that. But anyway, what happens is that she just kept popping up, Pete and Sheila Escovedo. So I sort of thought, well, they must be related, must be husband and wife. And then I found out it was Pete Escovedo's daughter, and she was like 14 or 15. And then she became Sheila E. with Prince, and what an incredible band, and what funky stuff, and everything that she did with Prince and all that stuff. And that was my really first favourite, and I went, whoa, like that, you know, little teenage boy crush, you know, all that sort of stuff. But funnily enough, I'm going to go the opposite end, and I'll probably cop a bit of stick for this because of I love White Stripes. I love Meg White. I love what she was able to do with Jack White. That band could go like that. I'll tell you a tale. Seeing I'm in the mood to tell tales. What goes on is in this room, this studio, once upon a time, I had this drum kit there, facing that way, and I had my my teaching kits right there where they are now. But I had a big screen because one of the students' mum gave me a leftover projector, and so I went to good old Bunnings, had the sausage, and I put up the screen, built a screen, put it up there, and then what I did was put my DVD player and all that sort of stuff there and played up. And at the time, I had Jethro Tull's Live in Montreux from 2013, at the same time as they were coming out, you know, back in 2011, 2012, roundabouts. And every chance I got, I'd come out, have a little bevy ready, and I just put on the DVD and I just play along, you know. So I could do the whole Jethro Tull concert. So if dear Don Perry, who I've had dinner with a long time ago, acts more like I watched him eat dinner, and I was just, you know, that's Don Perry, all that sort of stuff. But if he broke his wrist or something on the way to the Australian tour, let me in, that kind of thing. However, I was also putting on one of my favourite albums, Icky Thump. I couldn't do it because the tempo, like I'd be going, yeah, and then it'd shift and come back, you know. So, you know, so it goes with some metronome Nazis out there, the ebb and the flow, and it was just brilliant, you know, that kind of thing. And I find that sometimes with other great bands like The Who, you know, with Keith Moon and all that, live at Leeds, oh my God, coming up to the 50th anniversary. Oh, of course I'm not going to do something about that. One of my favourite albums of all time. And you just feel it like it's like opera. You know, it just ebbs and flows. Ritardando, build it up, come back, do this. There's no quantizing there. So what happens is that Meg White was brilliant for just hugging along with Jack. And that was her thing, you know, that kind of stuff. And she cops a lot of stick, you know, that sort of stuff. But I thought she was brilliant for that band. They were brilliant, you know, fantastic. So there's my big three, Magda. Evelyn Glennie, Sheila Escovedo, and Meg White. The list would keep on going and all that, because once upon a time I taught more girls than boys because I was teaching in 3 girls' schools back when I was teaching in schools. So, and I often found that ladies, women, would approach the drum kit much more like a musical instrument than just pure testosterone, you know, that kind of thing. And I thought that was beautiful and all that sort of stuff. So there's that for you, Magda. There you go. Stephen Tocci. There's a bit of a sad thing. We've lost 2 more drummers since we all, you know, fell over for, you know, for Neil Peart. And these are really sad. And Stephen Tocci, I just want to thank you for bringing it up. Reed Mullin passed away. And I don't know much about him, but I'll do as much as I can for him and for you. And so what it is I had a look today. Brilliant drummer. I mean, thank you for... I'm going to go in and start listening to Corrosion of Conformity. But I'll read it for you. William Reed Mullin was an American musician who was the drummer for metal band Corrosion of Conformity. He was the founding member with Mike Dean and Woody Weatherman. Mullin, along with Weatherman, also played in rally hardcore band No Labels. Okay, born in 1966, and he passed away just last Monday on the 27th, which is really sad. So my little tribute to this man, Stephen, you've asked me about one of the tracks, Damned for All Time, and you said cheeky hi-hats at 29 seconds. So of course I went there. And it's wonderful because it ties in with everything that I've been saying with Markus and Andrew, Spike, all that sort of stuff. What it is for a start, it's based on a 3/2 clave, right? So I sort of did that with the Neil Peart's Rush tribute, right? Except with La Villa Strangiato, it's a reverse clave. But anyway, I don't want to confuse things. So it goes bum, 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 bum. And he puts in that extra. There's that. But he makes it real. There's that. Now, the little secret was something that I did a while ago. And what goes on here is that play your hi-hat at the same time as your right hand. So what happens there is when we're doing this kind of thing, and this bobs up with Neil Peart's playing as well, in the sense that you've got that, and if you play your left foot on the hi-hat, you just pump it away. Once again, later on, the boot cam will show that to you once I get it up. I'm sort of pumping it like, you know, kneading it almost like a cat, do that sort of thing. And then when you put in a single stroke roll and put in your left foot, anything in between. Add in your bass drum. Now, can you see that I'm doing unisons again? Markus, back to you. Andrew, back to you. Everybody, back to you. There you go. So what happens is, there's that. It might, just to give it a bit of clarity there, if I once again straddle my left pedals, so that's just my left foot playing both pedals. how it gets around it at that 29 second. But the main beat before they go off into, it's a great track, and I will be listening to that much more. So thank you, Stephen. But what goes on with that is that if you get, then if you split that up, and Andrew, if you start to flam it a little bit, so you start to get that. And then I'm going to go into Andy Baker. Now, here's we've lost two drummers. Sean Reinert, Andy, you've asked me about. And again, second, I didn't know much about him, but as soon as I heard him, yes, I get it. Okay, so another great drummer, gone. It's one of those years, it's like 2016, I think. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, but what happens is Sean, I'll read it, his thing. He was born in 1971. He passed away on January the 24th. There you go. An American musician, songwriter and drummer of Eon Spoke, and he was also the drummer and founding member of Cynic until leaving the band in September 2015. Andy, you've talked about Death, his first band, and the album Human and all that. Now, I'm going to bring in I'm going to talk about both drummers at the same time a little bit as far as the technical stuff. Because what happens is that with Sean, the double bass drum work was crazy good. Now back to Markus again. If I was to do unisons, I used to do this little thing. I used to just use my cymbals and just do single stroke rolls, etc. And then I would do things like do a single stroke roll with my feet, sort of thing. Heels a little bit up. I don't get into that argument, heels down or heels up. I use both. I'll leave that for another day because I'm already there, 6:32, and I got to go to a pub and watch me mate playing his band, and that's what goes on. But what goes on is what I sometimes do, just to limber up, is I'll do a single stroke roll with my feet and do a double stroke roll with my hands, you see. So I might start off with singles. And then put it in. Now, Andy, you also asked me about cymbals, how to play them properly. You see I'm swiping. See what's going on? And that's what goes on there, you see. So you slash, you don't play in. It sort of amazes me sometimes when you'll see, I don't want to hang it on, I don't want to be cynical or anything like that, but I go, man, what are you doing? They'll have their $500 crash cymbal, love and adore it, they put it on their cymbal stand, wipe it down, and then wonder why it breaks at the end of the night, and they're in tears, and they've got $500, mate, there you go, gone. Slash the thing, that kind of stuff. Play it properly. You can actually be, like you people see me wang out. Wow, yeah! It's hot! Damn hot! It's so hot! I came home and I found my fridge. It left me for another fridge. It was the same beer relationship. Anyway, so that's what happens. And you see, that's another thing. Your bass drum curls there, what I was doing there. Now, what I heard with Sean Reinert was that in abundance and all that sort of stuff. So that's what sort of goes on. I'm multitasking because of what everyone's asking me. I should start to wrap the show up. Whew. Anyway, it is hot. Anyway. So there you go. All right. Should I do any more hot jokes? Maybe not. Anyway, So what happens? I'll go over everything. I haven't finished yet. I'm nearly there. But what happens is that with Stephen Tocci, you had Reed Mullin. I hope I've answered that for you. See, you get that? Anything in between? There you go, sort of thing. That's that bit there. And with Andy, with Sean Reinert, some of that feet work is incredible. There's one other thing I wanted to bring up though. One of the things is when I saw him do Evolutionary Sleeper from Cynic, he had backbeat on the fill-ins. You see, so you might have a beat. Doink. There you go, do you see? So and what happens with that is that that's something that you will hear also in a different context with one of my other favourite drummers is Budgie from Susie and the Banshees. And our very own Rob Hurst from the Oils, mate, the Oils, Midnight Oil. He would do like... Maybe not the paradiddly bit, back to you, Andrew, for rudiments, but what happens there is you still keep the backbeat. That's one of the reasons why I say big band jazz. Hit the 4 on the floor down there. That's what goes on, you see. And the gallop. Diddlin, diddlin, diddlin. Okay, and that's what happens there. Now, I should wrap the show up. I'm going a full 8 minutes over. Okay, and I still haven't finished. Nick Tevelis, how are you today? There you go. How did I start playing drums? Because I hated the violin. That's the first thing. And I just played, I came home and said, yeah, we've signed you up for violin. I went, well, okay. But it wasn't too bad because the folkies were going in Dad's pub, you see. I've talked about that enough. And there's all that. But the teacher, and all that sort of stuff, tap, 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 sort of thing, and yuck. But I saw drums. One of my friends bought a Deep Purple album, I can say that. I got into Deep Purple before Led Zeppelin. But I heard Led Zeppelin when I was 9, when the bikies in the Dan O'Connell would come in after the folkies in Dad's Dan O'Connell beer garden. And if it got a bit rough, Dad would say, better go upstairs, son, go watch the footy replay. But if it wasn't, and they were acting nice, I would be the little pub kid when you could work in a pub underage if you were part of the publican's family. And that's where I heard Led Zeppelin 1. But I didn't know what I was listening to. I knew it was fantastic, but there was also a lot of Janis Joplin, and the Easy Rider soundtrack got played about 3 or 4 times a night because Dad had the record player. He bought a little old record player for him and put up the back. This is all after the folkies left every Saturday and all that. So that was the upbringing. And Arlo Guthrie Alice's Restaurant. That got a bit of a ping, all that. But then, have a listen to this, fellas, and it was Led Zeppelin 1. Bang, bang, bang. And the aforementioned hi-hat, for good times, bad times. But that was when I really started to understand and get lessons and all that with one Harold Ripper at the Melbourne Music Centre, 3rd floor of Sutton's in Elizabeth Street back in late 72 into 73. By that stage, I was getting started, and Deep Purple's Made in Japan rocked my little socks off. And that was the thing. The mule! Ian Pace's drum solo. Everybody had a drum solo. He had the mule. John Bonham had Moby Dick. Sort of thing. And Carl Palmer had Tank. All that sort of stuff. And then I got into everything, everybody that I'm still doing. Then I got Who Live It Leads. Keith Moon. He didn't have a solo. He just soloed all the time. Well, a young man ain't got nothing in the world these days. Larry Bum, paradiddle, paradiddle, I said, no, I better do that another day. Anyway, there you go. I'm getting into a whole new show. But Nick, that's how I started playing drums, all of that sort of stuff. How do I keep going? Because of people like you and what I'm talking about now. Okay? All you beautiful people. And I'm a searcher. I'm not happy with just, it's not like it was in the back in the day, because I go on about Who Live It Leads. But look what's happened tonight. What am I going to listen to on the way in to see Markus and Cirrus Crown at the Workers' Club? How's that for a sneaky little plug? That's a free beer right there. Anyway, but what happens is now I'm going to listen to Corrosion of Conformity, and I'm going to listen to Death, sort of thing. Human. You see? It doesn't stop. It's gorgeous. And the thing is, I'm not stuck. That's the thing. I just love new stuff. And when I have students come in and they say, check this out, and I go, okay. And I check it out and go, that's not bad, is it? That kind of thing. So that's how I roll. There you go. Anyway, my name, I'm going to wrap it up now. Who have I got to thank? I've got to thank Markus, Scott Hayward, Androo Marschall. I hope I've answered your questions there. Spike Kiernan, again, thank you for your beautiful present, which I actually have here. Mwah. Thank you, mate. That's like, you saw my face, that kind of thing. And it was just beautiful to see that. That's gold. And that's going straight to the pool room and in a frame. And thank you, honestly. I don't want to embarrass you by being gushy, but that's gorgeous. Thank you so much. And I knew that had to be on tonight, and funnily enough, from different points of view, it's bobbed up through Andrew and warm-ups and all sorts of stuff. Magda, thank you. Thanks for coming along last and being a good sport with the goon of fortune. That was a great day. It was fantastic. So, favourite female drummer, I have lots of them, but Dame Evelyn Glennie. I love her so much, I use her sticks. Hey, that kind of thing. It's like an old smoke ad. So there you go there. Sheila Escovedo was the first lady I heard going with the cowbell and all that sort of stuff. And Meg White. She's great with white stripes, that kind of thing, and all that. Stephen Tocci, you've put me on to read Mullin, and thank you for that. Hope I've answered your questions there. Andy Baker, you've brought up Sean Reinert, and also I hope I've done something with the feet. And also cymbal crashes you brought up as well. How do you play it properly and all that sort of stuff. I hope I've answered that. And there's all that sort of business. I've done a couple of things with the styling. I've talked about that. And the do's and don'ts of cymbal, I've done that. Nick, I left you to last because it's like a little finishing off kind of question, which is terrific. Thank you, mate. And I'll probably see you tonight too. Okay. So, I love yous all. It's hot. Damn hot. It's so hot. I put myself off, my own joke. All right, I'm out of here. I'm going to have a nice glass of beer because it's hot. And there you go. And I will catch you next Friday, Facechook, and part 3 of the Neil Peart tribute that I did for Facechook Live a couple of weeks ago. Got beautifully, thank you Channel 31 for fast tracking it for me. And the third and final part of it, because what I did is I just went for that tribute, and I kept on going, and I could make it 3 episodes to get the whole thing on. But if you want to go and see it straight away, it's up on YouTube now. But that's on at Wednesday at 10. And Scott, Hayward and I, we have a little duo, as I mentioned earlier, with the one take. We call ourselves the one take Charlies, just one take. We'll work it up, of course we play it and practice it, but then one take. We don't punch in. It's just like, well, I'll settle with take 3, that kind of thing. And our newest one's coming up tomorrow on YouTube, but then I'll put it on Facebook. So anyway, I'm off, and I love you all. Thank you. Thank you for all your questions. There's a lot of questions tonight. Fantastic. Keep them coming. I love it. And that's what keeps me going, of course. So I'm off. So hot, I decided to put ice in my condom and swing that one around instead. That's hot.